At my mother-in-law's anniversary party, my husband screamed across the entire ballroom, "Your appearance disgraces my family. Go wait in the car." He then ordered his security team to forcefully shove me into the sedan and lock the doors. In desperation, I pounded on the tinted glass, tears streaming down my face. But suddenly, the old driver turned around and said calmly, "Serena, please don't cry. Your father has finalized the paperwork. This car, the security detail, and the entire company are now yours. I'm awaiting your instructions. What should we do with your husband?" Hello. Please write in the comments where you're from. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Enjoy the listening. But to understand how a simple music teacher found herself facing such a choice, we need to go back just 1 hour. The Grand Ballroom of Atlanta's most exclusive venue, the St. Regis Grand, was filled with stifling opulence. Crystal glittered everywhere. Tables groaned under the weight of gourmet delicacies, and the air was thick with the scent of expensive perfumes, mixed with the fragrance of fresh lilies. It was the 65th birthday celebration for Patricia Thorne, Marcus's mother. The city's entire elite had gathered here to pay their respects to a woman who considered herself the local queen of charity. Serena Hawthorne stood near a column, trying to take up as little space as possible. She nervously smoothed the edge of her modest beige dress. She had sewn it herself, spending 3 nights straight at her sewing machine to save the family budget. Marcus always claimed the company was tight on cash and asked her not to spend money on new outfits. But now, looking at the wives of her husband's business partners, draped in designer gowns and dripping with diamonds, Serena felt pathetic and utterly out of place. She searched for her husband. Marcus Thorne, tall, polished, and in a perfectly tailored tuxedo, flitted from one group of guests to another. He laughed, shook the hands of important people, and beamed. For him, this evening was not just his mother's party. It was a showcase of his success. Marcus noticed Serena and frowned. He strode quickly toward her, painfully squeezing her elbow. "Why are you standing here like some poor relative?" he hissed into her ear, his strained smile still fixed for the guests walking by. "Get over to the main table. Mom's about to give her toast, and for God's sake, stop slouching. You're the CEO's wife, not a mouse from the cellar." Serena nodded, swallowing her offense. She was used to it. In 10 years of marriage, she had learned that the most important thing to Marcus was appearances. She dutifully headed toward the main table, where Patricia Thorne was already holding court. The birthday woman was in her element. In her deep burgundy velvet gown, she looked monumental. She accepted congratulations with the air of a monarch bestowing a favor. Serena took a glass of champagne from a waiter's tray just to give her trembling hands something to do. She wanted to approach and quietly wish her mother-in-law a happy birthday, as etiquette required. "Patricia," Serena began softly, taking a step forward. "Happy birthday." Her mother-in-law spun around abruptly. She did it with deliberate force, swinging her arms as if she hadn't noticed her daughter-in-law standing right next to her. Her heavy elbow slammed into Serena's arm. The champagne glass slipped from her fingers. The crash of broken glass silenced the hum of conversation. The music stopped instantly. The amber liquid spread across the polished hardwood floor. A few drops splashed onto the hem of Patricia Thorne's dress. A deathly silence fell over the room. All eyes, hundreds of them, focused on Serena. She froze, feeling the heat rise to her face. "Oh, for heaven's sake!" Patricia sighed loudly for the entire room to hear, delicately brushing off her dress, even though the spot was microscopically small. "Well, of course. What else could I expect?" Marcus was instantly at her side. His face was blotched red, not with shame, but with fury. He saw his partners exchanging glances and their wives curling their lips. His perfect image had cracked. He didn't ask what happened. He didn't offer his wife a napkin. Instead, he exploded. "What the hell are you doing?" Marcus roared, making Serena's ears ring. "Are your hands made of stone? Did you intentionally try to ruin my mother's party?" "Marcus, she bumped me." Serena tried to defend herself, but her voice trembled. "Shut up!" he barked. "Stop making excuses. Look at you. You're a drab little mouse. All you know how to do is embarrass me. I dragged you out of the hood, and you can't even hold a champagne glass." He grabbed her arm roughly, like she was a criminal. Serena gasped in pain. Marcus dragged her away from the table, right through the center of the ballroom. "Marcus, you're hurting me. People are watching," she whispered, barely able to keep her feet moving without tripping. "Let them watch," he shouted, enjoying his power. "Let them see who I have to live with. Your appearance disgraces my family. Get out of here." He hauled her toward the massive exit doors. 2 security guards in black suits instantly rushed over. "Get this thing out of here," Marcus ordered the guards, shoving his wife's arm toward them. "Shove her into the car, let her sit there like a punished dog until I decide what to do with her, and lock the doors so she can't stick her nose out." The guards, accustomed to following orders without question, took Serena by the arms. She didn't resist. The shock had paralyzed her will. Marcus turned around and headed back into the ballroom, smoothing his jacket as he walked. Behind him, there was sparse but approving applause from the guests, supporting the strong man who had restored order. Serena was led outside. The evening air hit her face with a chill. A guard opened the back door of a black executive sedan and literally shoved her onto the leather seat. The door slammed shut, and the central lock clicked. She was alone in the semi-darkness of the luxurious interior. Serena pressed her face against the tinted glass. Through her tears, she could see the brightly lit windows of the ballroom. The party was still going on. Her husband, the man she had loved for 10 years, was probably smiling and drinking wine again, having erased her from his life in a single instant. Hysteria crashed over her in a wave. Serena began to pound her fists on the soft door panel, then on the window. "Let me out!" she screamed, even though she knew no one outside could hear her because of the soundproofing. "I want to go home. Marcus!" she sobbed, smearing her mascara across her cheeks. The sense of humiliation was so complete that she just wanted to disappear, to dissolve. Life felt over. How could she look people in the eye tomorrow? How could she return to that house? Suddenly, she noticed she wasn't alone in the car. In the driver's seat sat Mr. James, the older driver who had worked for the Thorne family even before Marcus became a high-powered executive. He had always been silent, invisible as a shadow. Marcus often insulted him, calling him an old relic, but didn't fire him because Mr. James knew the city better than any GPS. Mr. James slowly turned off the engine. An absolute silence descended on the cabin, broken only by Serena's stifled sobs. The driver looked up and met her eyes in the rearview mirror. His gaze held no trace of his usual subservience or pity. There was something else there, something hard and resolute. "Serena," he said. His voice was unexpectedly firm. "Stop. Tears won't help, and they'll only hurt your cause." Serena froze, surprised by his tone. She wiped her cheek with the back of her hand. "Mr. James, please open the door. I'll just take a bus." "No bus," the driver cut her off. "We're not going anywhere until you know the truth." He turned his body toward her, holding a tablet. "Marcus Thorne thinks your father is a drunk failure who lives off the grid and keeps out of sight," Mr. James continued calmly. "That was the plan. Your father, Fletcher Beloit, wanted to test what kind of man your husband really was. The test dragged on for 10 years, and today it's over." Serena stared at him, not understanding a single word. What was he talking about? Her dad really did live simply. She used to send him part of her meager paycheck, hiding it from Marcus. "This morning, your father activated the blind trust transfer protocol," Mr. James said, handing her the tablet over the back of the seat. "Look at the screen." Serena took the device with trembling hands. A document from the Secretary of State's corporate registry was open on the screen. The lines danced before her eyes, but Mr. James tapped a finger on the relevant field. "Read it." "Owner of Thorne Group of Companies, Serena B. Hawthorne." Serena read it. Marcus's name wasn't there. It read, Hawthorne Serena B. "But how?" she whispered. "Marcus is the CEO. He's the owner." Marcus Thorne was never the owner, the driver interrupted her, a faint smirk playing on his lips. He was a hired manager. His contract was for exactly 10 years. The contract expired yesterday at midnight. Mr. James looked directly into her eyes, and now Serena saw a strength in the older man she had never noticed before. As of this minute, Marcus Thorne is nobody, unemployed, and you are his employer. You are the sole owner of this entire business, this car, and these security guards standing outside. Serena shifted her gaze from the tablet to the ballroom windows, where Marcus was celebrating his imagined power. Your father waited until Marcus showed his true colors, Mr. James added. He showed them. Now, it's your move. Serena still gripped the tablet as if it were a life raft in a stormy sea. The letters on the screen didn't change. Owner Hawthorne, S.B. The meaning of those words reached her slowly, breaking through the fog of shock and resentment. She looked up at the driver. Mr. James didn't look away, and in his eyes, she saw expectation. I don't understand, she started, but her voice broke. Why did Dad stay silent? Why did he let Marcus treat me like that all these years? So you could see who you were with, Mr. James answered curtly, and so Marcus Thorne would lower his guard. He became complacent. But this is no time for philosophy, Serena. We have little time. He reached into the inner pocket of his jacket and pulled out a sheet of paper folded into quarters. Marcus didn't just kick you out of the party. He planned to destroy you tomorrow morning. Serena took the paper. It was a copy of a petition for divorce. The date was set for tomorrow. At the bottom, under asset claims, it stated that the spouse claimed nothing, as she had no income or contribution to the marital estate. He was going to serve you this tomorrow at breakfast, the driver continued, enunciating every word. He would have tossed you out on the street with one suitcase the moment his contract expired. He already prepared the security to keep you out of the apartment. You were just a spent resource to him. Something inside Serena snapped. The self-pity that had choked her moments ago suddenly evaporated. In its place came a coldness. An icy, searing cold. For 10 years she had darned his socks, cooked his diet soups, endured his mother's sneers, and scrimped on herself so he could look respectable. She loved him, and he was just waiting for the contract to end. She straightened her spine. The tears dried up on their own. Mr. James? Serena's voice had changed. It held a metallic edge she didn't know she possessed. Open the car. The driver nodded, pleased by the change. He pressed the unlock button, then handed her a thick envelope from the glove compartment. Take this. Your father asked me to give it to you. It's cash from the reserve fund. I think you'll find a use for it right now. Serena took the envelope, feeling its satisfying weight, and pushed the door open. The night air no longer felt cold. She stepped out of the car and smoothed down her modest dress. Now, it didn't seem poor. It was the dress of an owner who didn't need tinsel to know her worth. The security guards at the entrance, the very ones who had thrown her out 5 minutes earlier, exchanged glances. One stepped forward to block her path. Miss Hawthorne, we were instructed not to let you in. Mr. James, who had silently appeared behind her, simply cleared his throat. The guard looked at the old driver, saw a barely perceptible nod and a strange hand gesture. The security personnel froze, then silently stepped aside, opening the heavy oak door. Serena walked into the ballroom. Live music was playing, glasses clinked, and laughter rang out. Marcus was standing in the center of a circle of guests, telling some joke. Patricia Thorne sat on her throne-like chair, nodding graciously. Serena walked directly toward them. The click of her heels was lost in the noise of the party, but her presence didn't go unnoticed. First, those closest to the entrance fell silent. Then the silence spread in a wave until it covered the whole room. The musicians, sensing trouble, stopped playing. Marcus turned around. Seeing his wife, his face flushed purple, his eyes narrowed with rage. He excused himself from his conversational partners and strode toward her, clenching his fists. "Have you completely lost your mind?" he hissed, stepping close. I told you to sit in the car. Are you trying to stage a scene in front of everyone? Security! He looked around, searching for his team. 2 muscular men did enter the room, but they didn't rush to grab Serena. They stood by the wall, arms crossed, and looked at Marcus with stony faces. Serena did not stop. She walked right past her husband, as if he were an empty space, and ascended the small stage where the microphone stand for toast stood. "Get her out of there!" Marcus roared, losing all composure. "Mom, tell her!" Patricia Thorne half rose, opening her mouth to spew another insult, but Serena had already taken the microphone. "Good evening again." Her voice, amplified by the speakers, echoed through the ballroom, bouncing off the crystal chandeliers. "I apologize for interrupting the festivities." The room held its breath. Guests, used to scandals in the society pages, eagerly awaited the climax. "I am obliged to make an important announcement." Serena spoke calmly, looking directly at her husband, who was frozen in the middle of the room. "I, Serena B. Hawthorne, am the sole owner and founder of the Thorne Group of Companies." A whisper ran through the ballroom. Someone chuckled, assuming it was a drunken joke. Marcus laughed nervously, spreading his hands in an exaggerated gesture. "Folks, I apologize," he said. "My wife, she's not well. Overwork, a nervous breakdown. Serena, get off the stage. Don't embarrass yourself." "Due to the identified misappropriation of corporate funds," Serena continued, not even glancing at him, "I am making the decision to immediately terminate this banquet. This event was illegally paid for from the company's accounts. Funding is stopped. I ask everyone to please leave the premises." Marcus went white. He lunged toward the stage to rip the microphone from her hand. "You're delusional. What owner? You're a nobody. Security. Throw her out or I'll fire all of you." At that moment, Mr. James, standing by the entrance, nodded to the head of security. The 2 hulking guards, instead of grabbing Serena, stepped forward to intercept Marcus, blocking his path to the stage. "Mr. Thorne, please step away," one of them said gruffly. "It's the owner's command." Marcus froze, switching his frantic gaze between the guards and Serena. The guests began whispering louder. The atmosphere of scandal thickened. "This is a prank!" Patricia shrieked. "Marcus, what's going on? Do something!" Marcus tried to salvage the last scraps of his authority. He turned to the room, forcing a crooked smile. "Friends, pay no attention. This is just a family dispute. We'll sort everything out now. Waiters, champagne for everyone, music." But the orchestra didn't play. The waiters, standing along the walls with their trays, didn't move. Their faces were grim. Serena raised the microphone to her lips again. "There will be no champagne," she said, "and no music, because Marcus Thorne forgot to mention one small detail. He's bankrupt." She reached into the envelope Mr. James had given her. "I found out that the catering service and restaurant staff haven't been paid in 3 months," Serena announced loudly. "Marcus has been feeding you promises while hosting parties with the company's last dollars." Marcus flinched, as if he'd been slapped. This was a low blow. In this social circle, infidelity might be forgiven, but financial insolvency was a death sentence. "That's a lie," he squeaked. Serena walked to the edge of the stage, where the head waiter, an older man with a tired face, stood. "Here is the 3 months' debt and a bonus for tonight's work," she said, so everyone could hear, and handed him the thick wad of bills. "Distribute this to the staff right now." The head waiter, staring dumbfounded at the money, took the stack. He quickly counted the top bills and nodded to his colleagues. A profound silence fell over the room, broken only by the rustle of cash as the waiters began dividing the money among themselves right next to the lavishly set tables. This was more concrete proof than any document. The guests, the city's elite, began to visibly distance themselves from Marcus with expressions of distaste. A man who stiffed the help while throwing lavish parties was social poison in their circle. Marcus stood alone in the center of the room, red-faced, sweating, and utterly destroyed. He looked at the wife he had considered worthless for 10 years, and for the first time he saw someone to be feared. "And now," Serena said, lowering the microphone, "the banquet is over." The guests left in silence, trying not to look either Marcus or Patricia in the eye. It wasn't just the end of the evening, it was a social execution. The next morning, Marcus woke up in a motel. He was afraid to go home, unsure of what else his quiet wife might pull. His head was pounding, but rage fueled him. He was sure this was some monstrous mistake, a glitch in the registry, a stupid joke by his senile father-in-law. He would fix everything. He always did. By 8 o'clock in the morning, he was at the glass doors of the Thorne Group office tower. With his usual proprietary gesture, he flashed his magnetic keycard at the turnstile. The turnstile beeped a warning red signal and didn't open. Marcus frowned and tried the card again, denied again. "What the hell?" he roared. "Lena, open up! Your system is down!" Lena, the young administrator, who usually blushed at the sight of the boss and rushed to pour his coffee, sat behind the reception desk. Today, she wasn't blushing. She was pale and shrinking in her chair. "Mr. Thorne, I'm sorry," she stammered, avoiding his gaze. "Your pass has been deactivated." "Deactivated by whom? I'm the CEO. Open it immediately." "I can't." Lena, with a trembling hand, pointed to a display board with official notices hanging in the lobby. "The directive is posted." Marcus rushed to the board. A fresh sheet of paper with an official seal proclaimed, "Directive number 1, regarding the removal from office of CEO Marcus Thorne due to loss of trust and expiration of contract term, to appoint acting officer." At the bottom was a large, sweeping signature, S.B. Hawthorne. Marcus tore the sheet from the wall, crumpled it, and threw it on the floor. "This is a forgery!" he screamed so loudly that the security guard at the entrance put his hand on his baton. "I'm calling the police right now. You'll all be out of a job." He spun around and burst out of the building, nearly taking out the revolving door. A plan formed in his head instantly. He had to go home. The original corporate documents were in the safe there. He would force Serena to sign a retraction. He would choke her if necessary, but he would make her sign everything back over. 20 minutes later, his car screeched to a halt at the gates of their suburban estate. Marcus jumped out without even closing the car door and ran to the pedestrian gate. He punched in the code. The lock didn't react. He pushed the buzzer. Silence. "Serena! Open up!" he yelled, yanking the handle. "I know you're in there! Open up!" He started kicking the metal gate. A neighbor, a retired colonel who was watering his lawn, walked over to the fence. "Marcus, what's all the noise?" the neighbor asked sternly. "Serena is home, but she asked not to be disturbed." "This is my house!" Marcus shrieked. "She changed the locks!" He lunged at the fence, trying to climb over, but his foot slipped. Then he grabbed a stone from the ground and threw it at a first-floor window. The glass twanged mournfully and spider-webbed with cracks, but it didn't shatter. The double-pane window was strong. "I'm calling the police for vandalism, you hooligan!" the colonel snapped. "Go ahead, call them!" Marcus screamed, kicking the gate repeatedly. "Let them come and throw out this imposter!" Inside the house, standing at a second-floor window, Serena watched the whole thing. Her heart hammered somewhere in her throat. Seeing her husband so pitiful, so frantic, so dehumanized, was frightening. Yesterday, she would have rushed to open the door, apologize, and calm him down. The habit of being an obedient wife ran deep. Maybe I should talk to him?" she asked uncertainly, not turning around. "He is still my husband." Mr. James, who was sitting at the kitchen table calmly drinking tea, shook his head. "No, Serena. Pity is a poor advisor, especially now." He stood up, walked over to her, and placed a small cardboard box on the windowsill. "I retrieved this from his office safe this morning while he was sleeping at the motel. The guards let me in. They're your guards now." Serena looked at the box. Inside were folders of documents. "What is this?" The answer to the question, why? "You still think he loved you, even in the beginning, don't you?" Serena was silent. Yes, somewhere deep down, she still hoped their meeting 10 years ago wasn't a coincidence. He had been so charming, so attentive. A prince who fell for Cinderella. She opened the top folder. The first things she saw were photographs, old black and white and color snapshots of her childhood home in the country, pictures of her father working in the garden, photos of Serena herself, walking home from music school. The photos were taken with a hidden camera and were all dated. The earliest date was 6 months before she met Marcus. "He was watching us," Serena whispered, feeling her fingers go cold. "Not just watching," Mr. James explained. "He was studying the subject." Beneath the photos was a contract, thick paper, gold embossing, an investment agreement. Serena started reading, and the letters swam before her eyes. The document stated in black and white that Fletcher Beloit, her father, was transferring the seed capital and management of the company to Marcus Thorne on the condition that he marry his daughter, Serena B. Hawthorne. But the most chilling part was Section 4.2. Full transfer of company ownership rights to Marcus Thorne will occur only upon the expiration of 10 years of continuous marriage. In the event of divorce before the expiration of this term, initiated by Marcus Thorne, he forfeits all rights to management and assets and must pay a penalty. Serena read the sentence 3 times. Yesterday, the day of her mother-in-law's anniversary, was exactly 10 years from the day of their wedding. "He waited," Serena said, her voice trembling, but without tears. There was only a feeling of emptiness, as if all her internal organs had been removed. "He tolerated me for 10 years because of this clause." "Precisely," Mr. James nodded. "Every bouquet of flowers, every kiss, every birthday, it was a job. He was fulfilling a contract. He resented you for being forced to live with a country girl to get the money. And yesterday, when the term expired, he thought he was free. He thought the company was his, and he didn't need you anymore." Serena turned the page. It contained correspondence between Marcus and his lawyer, dated the previous week. "As soon as midnight strikes on the 15th, prepare the divorce papers. I want to throw her out on the morning of the 16th. Make sure she doesn't get a dime. I've already wasted 10 years of my life on that gray moth." From the street came the wail of a police siren. Marcus at the gate fell silent. Serena closed the folder. Her hands no longer trembled. All the pity that had stirred within her moments before was dead. It was killed by those dry lines of a contract. 10 years of her life had not been a marriage, but a business project, in which she was merely an encumbrance on the assets. She looked out the window. Police officers were twisting Marcus's arms, pressing him against the patrol car's hood. He writhed and screamed that he was the master of his life. "Mr. James," Serena said, not taking her eyes off the scene, "call the police. Tell them we won't file a complaint for vandalism." The driver raised an eyebrow in surprise. "You want to forgive him?" "No." Serena turned to him, her face calm, like a mask. "If he gets 15 days for vandalism, he gets off too easy. Let him walk. Let him see everything he thought was his crumble. I want him free when I take the rest of it from him." She picked up the next folder from the box. It was labeled, "Patricia Thorne's Condo." "Now, let's deal with his mother." No sooner had Serena opened the folder than the front door downstairs rattled with a bang. Someone was aggressively turning a key in the lock. "I know you're in there, you piece of trash!" Patricia's shrill voice echoed in the hall. "You changed the locks on the gate, but you forgot about my spare house key." Serena slowly closed the folder. She had forgotten her mother-in-law had her own keys. Marcus had given them to her just in case, so his mother could come for inspections at any time. These visits usually ended in a scene over dust on the shelves or incorrect seasoning in the soup. Heavy footsteps clattered up the stairs. The living room door flew open, and Patricia Thorne stood on the threshold. She was still in the burgundy dress from the anniversary, wrinkled and stale. Her hair was messy, her makeup smeared, but her eyes shot lightning. "You!" she gasped, rushing toward Serena. "You destroyed my son! You disgraced us across the whole city!" Her mother-in-law raised her hand. Her hand, with a massive ring, flew directly at Serena's face. Before, Serena would have flinched. Before, she would have closed her eyes and taken the blow, just as she had taken all the insults for 10 years. But that was the Serena who was locked in the car yesterday. Serena caught her mother-in-law's hand in midair, firmly, sharply. Patricia gasped in surprise and tried to pull away, but her daughter-in-law's grip was like steel. "Don't you dare," Serena said quietly but distinctly. "Never dare to raise a hand to me again." She pushed her mother-in-law's hand away. Patricia staggered, grabbing the back of a chair for support. "You! How dare you talk to me like that?" She choked with indignation. "I'm the queen of this city. I'll crush you to powder. Marcus will fix everything, and you'll crawl at our feet." Serena calmly walked to the table and picked up the folder she had just been looking at. "Marcus won't fix anything, Patricia, and you're not the owner of the city or even your own condo." "What nonsense are you spouting?" her mother-in-law scoffed.